So Liz Cheney thinks that the turning point is now for the Republican Party. It feels to me like they made their turn a while ago.
Well, good evening, Lawrence. It's good to be with you. I certainly agree. I mean, clearly there were blaring warning signals years ago as President Trump was candidate Trump about the potential for him to undermine the rule of law in our country. And many Americans saw those signals were clearly apparent to most Americans. And so obviously I agree with you there. That being said, look, I think that Liz Cheney should be applauded for speaking truth to power now. And I think her compelling editorial should be read by each and every American. It's incredibly powerful. I agree with her that history is watching the Republican Party. I mean, as I think about it, Lawrence, what's the most striking to me is just the differences in the way in which the two major political parties in the United States have functioned over the past 100 days. Democrats are fighting for the American people. We're fighting for small businesses, for families, for kids. We're trying to speed up vaccinations across the country. Republicans are fighting themselves, literally having an existential debate, not over policy priorities, but over whether or not they will ultimately respect the rule of law and fundamental democratic institutions, such as the legitimacy of our elections. And it's clear that unfortunately that battle is going to be won by the hardliners and the far right members of the Republican Party. And unfortunately, there seems to be no room anymore for folks who take a more reasonable view and actually believe in the core functions of our constitutional republic.
You said they're fighting themselves. Let's watch one member of the House who is fighting with himself. Let's listen to what Kevin McCarthy has said over time about this.
The president bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack on Congress by mob rioters. He should have immediately denounced the mob when he saw what was unfolding.
When I talked to President Trump about, I was the first person to contact him when the riots was going on. He didn't see it. What he ended the call was telling me he'll put something out to make sure to stop this. And that's what he did. He put a video out later.
Congressman Neguse, Kevin McCarthy has been fighting with himself ever since he delivered what was clearly the best speech of his career when he said that President Trump was, of course, responsible for what happened at the Capitol.
Yeah, I mean, Lawrence, perhaps the most insidious part of this entire charade is the fact that you have folks like the minority leader who know that what they are saying today just simply does not comport with the facts. I mean, he knew on January 13th, as he said, that the president bore responsibility for the insurrection on January 6th. And as do most Republicans in the House Republican caucus, unfortunately, they are unwilling to speak the truth and to choose country over party, as you were, and as caucus chairwoman Liz Cheney spoke about in her editorial in the Washington Post today. And I think history is watching. I really do believe that the decisions that are made today will, ring very loudly in history in the coming years. And I wish that more Republicans would be willing to do what Liz Cheney has done.
It seems that the Republican strategy, the House strategy for those members is to win their primaries. They are concerned with not having someone who is Trumpier than they are confront them in a primary and take that nomination away from them as the Republican candidate for the House in their district. And so it seems like a party that is entirely concerned with winning its own primary without any concern whatsoever for what voters outside of the Republican Party are thinking.
I think that's absolutely right, Lawrence. A big part of their motivation or rationalization is the flawed incentive system, unfortunately, that we have in our current political environment, as you said, where most folks are running to the right in their respective caucus to win their primaries. It's yet another reason why we need to pass HR1 and SR1, which includes redistricting reform, similar to, for example, the model that we have here in the state of Colorado, where redistricting is performed by a nonpartisan citizen-led commission. But look, at the end of the day, I would just simply say that it's important for those House Republicans who agree with Liz Cheney, who understand the geopolitical ramifications of continuing to perpetuate the big lie, who recognize that what happened on January 6th could very well happen again. It's important for them to speak up and to speak up now.
And I understand when you work in a legislative body with another party, you always welcome someone who's been an opponent to your side whenever there's any area of agreement. And so what is the feeling among Democrats in the House now? I'm hearing what you have to say about Liz Cheney. What are your Democratic colleagues feeling about Liz Cheney's position tonight?
Frankly, Lawrence, I think most of the colleagues that I've spoken with agree with the sentiments that were expressed by President Biden earlier today. I mean, ultimately, we need healthy parties in the United States, healthy political parties, in order for our republic to function in the way that the framers and the founders intended. And so you want to see more sensible voices emerge within the House Republican caucus. That's an outcome that I think every American ought to desire. And I think what's happening right now to Chairwoman Cheney is obviously deeply disappointing in terms of the broader trend lines that it portends for the ability of the House Republican caucus to function, as a legitimate political party that respects the legitimacy of our elections into the future.
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel. You should know that you can follow today's top stories and breaking news and catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.